I'm about to make the headstock the proper thickness or very close to it. I want it to end up at 15 millimeters. So by the time I'm done with this step, it'll be just a whisker over that, and so I can refine that with sanding. Now this is, I was going to say a trick, not a trick, it's a technique that I first saw being used by Fletcher handcrafted guitars in Australia. So let's see how well I do at this. I've got the guitar neck itself clamped down onto the table, and two pieces of wood. It doesn't really matter what thickness they are, as long as they're the same thickness as each other on either side. Now what's going to happen now is the router will be able to ride on those two pieces of wood while I route away at the headstock, cutting it down to the right thickness. And I've got that thickness of 15 mils drawn on there. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll check periodically. And when I start to get close, I'll be very careful. I'll be careful the whole time. But when I start to get close, be very careful not to go too much further. I've got another piece of wood clamped here so that there's a limit as to how far up the neck the router can go, because I don't want to start routing into the part where the neck is sitting. I only want to route the headstock to the right thickness, and then I'm going to be filing and sanding a curve there as the transition occurs from the thin part to the thicker part. So without further ado, let's see how this goes. I'm not done with the first pass yet, but you haven't got a very good view there, so I'll just show you how it's going. It's going quite well. I'm using a flush trim router bit so that when it bumps up against the edge of those pieces that it's riding on, it doesn't cut into them. I actually wish that I had a larger bit. I've got a longer bit, but I mean a wider bit. It would enable me to do that a little bit quicker, taking more wood off at once, but you work with what you've got. I should probably buy one. That's going all right. You can see I'm taking very little off, and that's a good idea. Just take small passes at a time. That way you're less likely to go too far, make it too thin. And it's just easier to control when you're not taking that much wood off each time. So I will just continue with this as you saw me doing then, and I will bring you back when I'm pretty much at the right thickness. And I've just done the final pass now. It's just about touching that line, so I've stopped. I'll sand the rest of that smooth, and I will also, and I'll show you when I do this, I will take it over to my spindle sander and sand a curve into that corner there so it'll blend smoothly into the fretboard. I just did a small amount of damage there where the router slipped off that edge. I did more damage to the board down there, but that's fine, who cares. I can probably, well, I know I can sand that so that it looks fine, like there is no damage. I like the wood. Tawa. It really is a good substitute for maple. Right, sanding. Before I take it over to the spindle sander, aka bobbin sander, and you can see I've smoothed this off with my orbital sander, I just want to do some of the rougher work first, just to give the sander less work to do. So with that in mind, I'm just going to file off some of the corner of that piece of tawa there, so that I can then more easily sand it smooth. Let's go to the sander. Now there's a little bit of burn in that transition. I will try to hand sand that a bit cleaner. But generally speaking, that's good. That can be cleaned up to look exactly as I want it to. So I've got here some 200 grit paper, which should certainly be enough to do this. Now, I'm going to be drilling a hole right in the middle there, and I'm happy with the coloration that now exists, or very little coloration that now exists on that piece of wood. So that is my thicknessed headstock.